to Shoot the Rock. This is the Rockcastle Gun Show on ESPN 102.7 FM, AM 1450, AM 1230, and streaming live on ESPNKY.com. Your weekly double-barrel dose of the biggest names, best products, and most intriguing topics in the world of firearms. Brought to you by Hilux Optics, Swagger by Pods, Shoot with Confidence, J&K Used Cars on the Bypass, and Mohawk Outdoors. In pursuit of liberty, justice, and all things guns. Here are your hosts, Nick and Nate Noble.
Hey, welcome back to the Rockcastle Gun Show. It's here September 18th, 2019, and it's Nick and Nate Noble here on ESPN Radio 102.7, the Rockcastle Gun Show. Unfortunately, my brother and my partner in crime here in the bunkers of ESPN Radio Studios in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and our podcast, which is transmitted all over the world. Just download that anywhere you get your iTunes or your podcast in general. Nate's over in Eastern Kentucky hunting elk right now. He's guiding elk hunts, so that's always fun. And so he's not with me, so it's Nick Noble, your host tonight, solo. We got Garrett Browning in the he's our producer, and he's in the house with us right now. And we're going to have a great show tonight. We're going to kind of go, it's going to be girl power tonight a little bit. We're going to talk a lot about gun rights and things that are very important to not just the Second Amendment, but things like red flag laws, universal background, gun-free zones. And we're going to bring on an incredible guest and a dear friend on here shortly to talk about some of those issues. And then later in the show, we're going to bring on Juliana Crowder. She's the founder of A Girl and a Gun. They're bringing in it's the Multi-Gun Fall Fest here coming up in 2 weekends. And it's a whole bunch, about 300 ladies coming from all over the country, all over the world, coming in to do 3-gun. And kind of, it's really more than just a competition. It's more like a clinic and a competition with 3 guns, but then they're also going to do multi-sports in it. And A Girl and a Gun's doing some incredible things to just support the Second Amendment and really empower ladies and getting women into not only shooting sports, but just into firearms in general. So that's going to be coming up here in the show, here on ESPN Radio, the Rockcastle Gun Show. And we got a lot going on up at the Rock. I mean, we've got our big USPSA match happening. Last weekend we had HAVA, Honored American Veterans of Field. I know you guys, if you're listeners, and you guys and girls, if you're listeners to the show, you've learned about that a little bit. But we had over 300 people, about 200 wounded warriors up at Rockcastle Shooting Center over the weekend, mostly from Fort Campbell, but there were also some folks from Fort Knox. And the wounded warriors, men or women, are coming in with their spouses and their kids, and there's daycare, and they set up just a wonderful thing. All the gun companies come in, and Honored American Veterans of Field, supplies guns and ammo, and they have an incredible weekend with free of charge, and they get to go shoot all kinds of fun stages, and their kids get to have bouncy houses, and it's really a fun time for the entire family. Feed them some incredible lunches and dinners, and it was just a huge success last weekend. Despite the heat and everything else, it was great to have HAVA on American Veteran of Field there at the Rock last weekend. That was our 7th year in a row that we've done that, and we're very proud of that. Rockcastle Shooting Center is on exit 48 I-65. We are a 2,000-acre shooting sports resort. We do everything from pistol, rifle, shotgun, long-range rifle out to 1,650 yards, 3D archery, got a hotel, a restaurant, a golf course. You name it, you can come right there. We're open to the public, but we also have membership, so just check us out at rockcastleshootingcenter.com. So that's always good. So I think we're going to jump into this segment, and our first guest is a dear friend of Rockcastle Shooting Center. She's no stranger to the resort, no stranger to Rockcastle. She's been there many times, and I think she's going to be coming up here pretty quick. But our next guest is Nikki Gozer. And Nikki has got an incredible background, which we'll get into here in a second. But Nikki, it's glad to have you here on ESPN Radio on the Rockcastle Gun Show.
Hey, Nick, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's so cool to have you here. You're such an inspiring person to me and to Nate and just to Rockcastle. And you're involved in so many different things. And some of the things you're involved in we'll get into it, but maybe you've been forced into it just because of some things that have happened in your life. But then other things you're taking the baton and you're running with it. And but it's great to have you on the show tonight.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So you're out of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yep, I'm here in Knoxville visiting my mom, and I really appreciate you having me on. I'm excited about coming back out to Rockcastle.
Nikki, you've been around gun laws, gun rights, gun things. I mean, you actually spent some time on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. working for one of our legislators. Tell us a little bit about that and what that experience was like, and then we'll kind of get into your background after that.
Sure. I was the executive director of the Second Amendment Caucus there in Congress. I worked for Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky, and that was a real honor to work for him. He is absolutely solid on our Second Amendment. He is just gold, and he was an incredible boss. I was extremely honored to work for him. I probably would have stayed, but as I told him when he asked me to stay after a year, I said, I love working for you, but I really don't like D.C. The rent is too darn high. The traffic is terrible. I miss my family. And, I've got to go home.
Absolutely. And I understand that. And you had a unique qualifications in order to be the executive director of, that was the Second Amendment. What did you say it was again?
The Second Amendment Caucus.
The Second Amendment Caucus. You had some unique qualifications for that. And when I say unique, I use that word very carefully. You are also an author of and you've written a book that was widely out there and picked up, and you've been working with the NRA. You've been a featured speaker in so many different ways. But I want to talk a little bit about your book, Denied a Chance: How Gun Control Helped a Stalker Kill My Husband. If you haven't read this book, folks, this is an incredible book. It's the firsthand story of Nikki and her husband, and it's really. And I'm sure you were into gun rights and the Second Amendment and everything else before that because you were a concealed carry holder. But some of these events really have shaped things in some not so good ways, and others you become an advocate. But could you just kind of walk into that a little bit and give us a little bit of a background about that situation and really the whole genesis of that book?
Sure. Well, I definitely was not involved in politics or, gun rights before, something happened 10 years ago that changed my life forever. I was just a financial aid advisor at a college at the time, but 10 years ago, my husband was murdered right in front of me by a man that was stalking me. And because of Tennessee state law at the time, I had to leave my permitted legal handgun that I normally carried for self-defense locked inside of my vehicle because Benjamin and I were inside of a restaurant that was a gun-free zone. So I honored that law. I obeyed that law, and I left my gun locked in my car. Of course, the man that was stalking me did not have a handgun carry permit. He was carrying illegally, brought the gun into a gun-free zone, and proceeded to shoot my husband 6 times in front of myself and everyone in the middle of a busy restaurant. And I will probably wonder for the rest of my life if I could have prevented that. Of course, I'll never know because I was denied a chance. And from that moment on, I just decided I have to get out there. I have to talk about this. I have to let people know that I don't think gun-free zones protect people. I think they do the opposite. I think that they make good law-abiding people helpless and vulnerable. I don't think bad guys care, obviously. I think they are a magnet for evil people who want to go in and harm innocent people. The majority of these mass public shootings that you see happening, the media loves to talk about these mass public shootings, but the one thing they fail to let the public know is that over 95% of these mass public shootings occur in gun-free zones where good law-abiding people are absolutely helpless. And these killers get high body bag counts because there's no one there that can stop them. And in those precious seconds or minutes that it takes the police to arrive with their guns, so many people, innocent people, die.
It's too late.
And Yeah, I've tried my best over the past decade to try and educate people about the dangers of gun-free zones and why having your handgun carry permit and protecting yourself and your loved ones is so very important.
Well, I've heard this story from your lips many times, and it breaks my heart, Benjamin, and just everything about it just breaks my heart. And you're right, and you really, this has catapulted you, whether you wanted to or not, to become an advocate for not only the Second Amendment, but, talking about things like gun-free zones. And I agree with you. Talking about, for lack of better terms, just easy, soft targets, shooting fish in a barrel. You're going for the high body count and everything else. And we're setting that up through legislation to be that way. And you've really become an advocate to try to talk through that. Let's talk about gun-free zones a little bit and some of the stuff that you've done through the Second Amendment caucus and some of the other things, and then we'll get into some of the other things like red flag laws and universal background and a little bit of that. But I mean, gun-free zones are literally, it's because as most, like you said, and I have to see the statistics, and we'll talk about Dr. John Lott because he's really, really incredible about capturing statistics on gun violence and everything else in the United States. But it's rarely the law-abiding citizen. It's certainly not the NRA member, and it's certainly all these people that are going out and committing all these atrocious, hideous acts. And it's really the people that follow the laws that are the ones being the victims, and the people that don't follow the laws and are not part of the whole Second Amendment movement are the ones creating these bad situations and literally killing people. And gun-free zones are just like it's a fair game, and they're seeing this. And have you had an impact in your voice and everything you've done? I mean, I've seen you on the stage at the NRA convention. I've seen you with Wayne LaPierre and Chris Cox and all kinds of people that are high profile. You've been interviewed on numerous television shows, radio shows, anything else. I mean, is it ringing true? Are people starting to talk about gun-free zones and really getting some honest conversation about it?
Well, you always wonder if you're really having an impact when you do this. I've often thought to myself, is this really worth it? Like, I am spending my time here reliving the worst time of my life, and I hope people are learning from this because it's hell telling this over and over and over again, but I hope that it can benefit some people out there so that this doesn't happen to them. And if it does, at least they're prepared. So you always wonder, but I guess it really came through to me that I am making a difference when my book was picked up by the Investigation Discovery Channel. There was a producer and director from the ID channel that read my book and said, hey, we're doing an episode on stalking stories, and we really want to feature your story. We think that this could really educate a lot of people. And I was a little bit hesitant at first, but we ended up doing the episode. It was filmed in London, England, over the course of 3 days. I sat in front of the camera, and they had me narrate the story, and then they hired actors to play myself and Benjamin and tell the story. And that one episode has no doubt reached millions of people. And, they let me talk in the episode about I had to leave my legal gun locked in my car. And this was a gun-free zone. And that episode ran in the U.S. and the U.K. It's still running to this day, and it's available on iTunes. But I still get emails to this day from people here in the U.S. and in the U.K. saying how much that episode touched them, and it really makes them think about their own personal safety. And I have to tell you, the people in the U.K., it really concerns them because they realize how vulnerable they are.
Well,
they don't have a way to truly protect themselves.
No, they don't, and they have been stripped of all of their gun rights. And it is we've got some great friends that come and travel to Rockcastle Shooting Center from the UK. Incredible competitors, and just the gun laws and the restrictions over there and what's happened there is just a travesty. So now we're seeing, the murder rate hasn't changed, the homicide rate hasn't changed. It's just it's not being done by guns as much anymore. So now they're using knives and hammers and anything else that they can do. So it really doesn't change this from statistically speaking the homicide rate. But now they have no way of actually defending themselves. So you're doing an incredible thing in that thing. Our guest is Nikki Gozer. She's the author of Denied a Chance, How Gun Control Helped a Stalker Kill My Husband. And I want to talk a little bit about, because I think in the day of Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff, everything, I think it's becoming more and more prevalent where not that there hasn't always been stalkers, but now it's so easy. It's at the fingertips of some obsessed, crazy person to be able to find somebody that's on social media and kind of follow them secretly and become obsessed if they're of that mind. And in this day and age, worse than when maybe I was growing up, and I'm almost 50 years old right now. Back in the day, we didn't have any of that stuff, and it was a little bit different. But I mean, things are changing, and they're changing in the worst way in terms of having restrictive gun laws to be able to protect yourself, because our identities are so public now. I mean, and some of that's good and some of that's really bad.
Yes, I would agree with you.
Yeah. So let's get into some of the other things that we're talking about. I want to get in. We're going to probably, if you don't mind, I'm going to stick you over. You want to stick over for a break, and we'll go pay some of our sponsors, and we'll be back here in a second?
Sure.
Okay. Nikki Gozer is our awesome guest tonight, and we're talking about not only her book, Denied a Chance, but also we're talking about the Second Amendment. We're going to be talking about red flag laws, universal background checks, gun-free zones, and we'll be right back after these messages. You're listening to the Rockcastle Gun Show on ESPN Radio, and we'll be right back.
J&K Used Cars is the place to go when you need a quality automobile at an affordable price. Stop in at 670 on the Bypass in Bowling Green and see this week's special. A 2010 Toyota Highlander. Limited four-wheel drive SUV comes with third-row seating, sunroof, pearl exterior, leather interior, sport wheels, and more, only $16,995. Hurry in, because at that price, it won't last long. J&K Used Cars, with over 40 years of serving the community with affordable prices on quality automobiles. Visit J&K on the Bypass and online at jnkusedcars.com.
This is Nate from Rockcastle Shooting Center. Did you know that one of the premier shooting ranges in the world is right here in South Central Kentucky? Rockcastle Shooting Center has something for everyone's recreational shooting enjoyment. From 3D archery to our brand new sporting clays course, handgun ranges full of steel to targets out to a mile. There's no better place to get some trigger time than Rockcastle Shooting Center. Non-members are welcome, and memberships start at $150 per year. We offer a fantastic range of firearms training and education opportunities from the most basic to the most advanced. Come see us, exit 48 on I-65, Park City, Kentucky. Visit rockcastleshootingcenter.com.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When our clients come to us for representation, I see way more than a client. I see me. When I hear someone has a herniated disc or a back injury, I think, what if that was me? How would that impact my life? I put myself in your shoes and in your life. When I look at your family, I see my family. This outlook makes my firm think differently than most. I understand that some injuries are forever, and forever is a very long time. For 30 years, we've helped hundreds of thousands recover what they deserve. $1 billion last year alone. Every time we hear your stories, we feel like it's us. If you're injured in a car crash, slip and fall, or the victim of medical malpractice, call us, because we care. Dial pound law on your cell phone. That's pound 529. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Offices Bowling Green.
BGMU would like to remind you that some things just don't belong in the toilet. When items such as trash, cleaning items, and paper towels are flushed, they can eventually cause pipes to back up and overflow, which costs you time and money to fix. Never flush wipes of any kind, even if the package says flushable. When in doubt, toss it in the trash. BGMU, connecting Bowling Green.
Connecting Bowling Green. BGMU. BGMU, connecting Bowling Green.
This is Tim Jensen from Gun Style. You're listening to ESPN, the Rockcastle Gun Show.
All right, welcome back to the Rockcastle Gun Show. It's your host, Nick Noble. Nate Noble's over in eastern Kentucky chasing down giant elk. You didn't know that there were elk in Kentucky, but there's monsters. And he's over there with some clients that are doing that. So I'm solo in the studio tonight, but I've got a very special guest, a very dear friend, Nikki Gozer. She is a Second Amendment advocate. She's on the DC. She's part of the DC Project. She represents Tennessee for the country, because there's one lady out of every state. DC Project's an incredible thing. We've covered it here on the Rockcastle Gun Show many times. Dinah Muller out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, former police officer and really the founder of the DC Project, brings all these ladies to Capitol Hill. And again, we invite, and then they invite all of the legislators to meet with them in both pro-gun states and anti-gun states, and invite them to understand that there is a huge voice out there. And Nikki's one of the biggest voices out there. Nikki, so good to have you on here. We were in the first segment, we were talking about your book, Denied a Chance, and incredible things, and it's just really happy to have you on tonight.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about that DC Project and what that means for you. You've been involved in it several years. Diana's both of our dear friends, and that's a very special group, because I think it has maybe more impact than a lot of other folks from, if you gather just individuals from 50 states and walked in there, and it was guys like me and other people and just random people. This is women coming into Capitol Hill to talk to the legislators about our gun laws, Second Amendment, and everything else. And I think what y'all are doing is really impressive.
Yeah, they are a wonderful group of ladies, and I feel honored to be a part of that group. They, I tell you, they are so diverse. I mean, they truly represent America, real America. I'm not talking D.C., I'm not talking Chicago, I'm not talking the city, New York. I'm talking real America out there. I mean, they are mothers, they are police officers, they are military, they are victims of violent crime, they are women involved in shooting sports, and we're doing our best to go out and educate members of Congress about why our Second Amendment is so important and how some of these gun control laws can truly have unintended consequences.
And that's really what it's about, isn't it? Is unintended consequences, because they don't understand. The legislators don't understand. And, I see that, we run a 2,000-acre shooting sports resort, and people that haven't been around guns, they just don't understand it. And especially in the big cities, L.A., Chicago, New York, D.C. I mean, the people just don't have a grasp of what I'll call middle America and some of the things that are out there, and it's really easy to get kind of just boxed in and that way of thinking. But the DC Project truly does, like you said, what a diverse. I mean, we're every walk of life, every race, every creed, every religion, every sexual orientation is represented in the DC Project, and you guys march onto the Hill and have a little bit of rally and talk to the legislators, and I think it's really important.
Absolutely. And we do have ladies from New York and Chicago and D.C., but we have a lot of ladies. We have 50 of them. It's one woman from each state, and we just established relationships with legislators and revealed the true faces and stories of firearm owners across America.
Absolutely. Now, we're kind of getting heavy into legislation, laws, and everything else, but there was an important event that happened today, and I didn't get a chance. You sent me a link to Dr. John Lott and Dr. Susanna Hupp that were on Capitol Hill today. There was a hearing in front of Congress about gun violence in America and understanding and reducing the cost of firearms injuries and deaths. Can you give us just a little bit of a thumbnail sketch of what happened today? And I've met Dr. John Lott several times at SHOT Show, and he's an author that he's in my opinion, the best statistical, analytical mind that there is about gun violence and statistics, not only in the United States but the world. But what happened on Capitol Hill today?
Well, the Democrats have control of the House, and there are definitely more Democrats on this particular committee. And it was somewhat biased. There were only 2 Republicans, really, in that committee. But overall, I think it went pretty well. There were some situations where Dr. Lott was not allowed to answer some personal attacks on himself, and they seemed to love to do that to him. But I think he did very well. Dr. Susanna Hupp, she basically just told her story back in 1991 her parents were murdered right in front of her in a restaurant called Luby's Cafeteria. This is in Killeen, Texas.
Yeah, I remember that.
And because of their law, she had to, she couldn't bring her gun in. They didn't have a concealed carry law at the time. And her gun was in her car, and this madman drove his truck through the window, and everybody's thinking it's just a horrible accident, right? He's just had a horrible accident. He lost control of his truck. Maybe he had a heart attack. And he gets out, and he just starts randomly just shooting and killing people. And her father went to try and rush the guy, to try and body slam him. And, of course, the bad guy's the only one with a gun. He's in complete control. He shoots her father. And she and her mother they noticed that somebody breaks out a window behind them. And Susanna grabbed her mother by the shirt collar and said, "Mom, we've got to run out that window, and we've got to run out now." And Susanna's feet grew wings. She got out the window and realized that her mother had not followed her. Now, her parents had just celebrated their 47th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Her mom wasn't going anywhere. Her mom went to hold her dying husband, and that madman walked up to her and shot her right in the head.
Mm.
And so she told her story in committee today, and Dr. Lott talked about the statistics, the dangers of gun-free zones, some of the things that I'm talking to you about. But I think it went well. I think that, overall, it's good to hear both sides. And people can try and decide for themselves what they choose to believe. I hope people do the research.
I do too, and that was one of the most notorious and early mass shootings. I remember when that Luby's, the truck went through that window, and that was, I think it was in the 80s, and it was tragic. And unfortunately, there's been many more since then. And there's such an emotional when a tragedy happens. There's just this emotional thing that kicks off, and the gun debate kicks into full swing, and everybody on both sides just gets pretty lathered up in doing it. And there's a lot of other things that are happening right now, and I want to talk specifically. Maybe let's get into red flag laws, and as you, because you are such an advocate of this whole subject and talking about things, and a lot of the things that have happened let's talk about the Florida high school shooting, and it was really a tragic situation down there, and this kid had been in front of or had authorities from the FBI to the local police to the sheriff department. He's actually had 39 different contacts with them. He was identified by his high school as being a danger, and yet nothing happened. And this kid walks into this high school, pulls a fire alarm, and massacres a whole bunch of children. So the red flag laws in the United States, it's a gun control law that permits police and family members to petition a state court to order a temporary removal of firearms from a person who may present a danger to others and themselves. Give me your take on red flag laws and kind of where you stand on it versus and where the Second Amendment community stands on it.
Sure. Well, let me just say this. I as a victim of a violent crime myself, or I hate the word victim. I like survivor.
I like
a survivor of a violent crime myself, and someone who has dealt with a stalker, obviously I want society to be protected. Obviously, I don't want bad people to have guns. But at the same time, Nick, I am a huge supporter of our Constitution, and I truly believe in proper due process. I think it's very, very important. And I don't think that we should just have knee-jerk reactions to these horrible events. Look, I've been through a horrible event. I've lived it. I'm still living it. My husband's dead. He's never coming back. And that's something I have to live with for the rest of my life. But at the same time, I don't want to see innocent people harmed by red flag laws. And when I say that, I truly mean I believe these red flag laws are ripe for abuse. And it's already happened. I mean, look, so many of these red flag laws, but I think there's like 13 or 14 states that already have some version of red flag laws right now. And so many of these have what's called ex parte hearings. That's where someone can go and make an accusation or an assumption, go to law enforcement, and they can have a little hearing without you, the one being accused, even knowing. You have no idea that this is happening. You have no idea that you're being accused of anything. And then law enforcement can just show up on your doorstep in the middle of the night and say, hey, we've come to get your gun.
We're confiscating your guns, yeah.
And
it's a slippery slope.
Absolutely no due process whatsoever. I'm going to give you an example that I think not a lot of people have thought of, but I use myself as an example. Okay, so back in 2009, my husband was murdered right in front of me by a man that was stalking me. It was absolutely horrific. It was traumatizing. What do you think is a normal human reaction to something like that? Can we all agree that depression is a normal human reaction to something like that?
100%.
Okay, so everybody listening, put yourself in my shoes. Your spouse is murdered right in front of you by some crazy stalker. Don't you feel like you have a right to be depressed about that and not have people go and take away your basic human right of self-defense? Being depressed, having a normal human reaction to trauma, does not make you a danger to yourself or others. Now, someone very well-meaning, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be a neighbor, an associate, could call up law enforcement and say, gosh, Nikki's just been through this horrible event, and we know that she's a gun owner, and we're really worried about her. We're afraid that she might harm herself. Next thing you know, police are knocking on my door to confiscate my guns, and now, after being a victim of a violent crime, now you're going to victimize me again and make it so that I am totally helpless to stop someone as evil as this man that took my husband from me. Can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine it. And you know what? And a very similar situation would be, and we're facing an epidemic with PTSD and all of our soldiers that are coming back. And we have the largest influx of not only special operations soldiers, but other folks that have been in combat. And we've been in combat now for years and years and years. And PTSD and traumatic brain injury, TBI, are real things. And it would be so easy once you go down that slippery slope to say, okay, all of a sudden, these folks that have been over there and they've been in combat situations, and it's very, very, depression and alcoholism. There's all kinds of things that generate out of it, and it's well documented. But let's take their guns, because they're fighting post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is something that I'm sure that you experience. Through everything that you've been through. So if we're going to easily corral that around and say, okay, well, all of a sudden we think, and there is no due diligence and no due process in any of this, but we can go do that. It's a scary, scary situation. So red flag laws are, as it relates to all that, it's very scary. It's like a lot of things, in my opinion. It's kind of a maybe okay in concept, and emotionally it triggers something that, okay, yeah, that sounds like the right thing to do. But in practice, it's almost impossible. And really, it boils down to, in my opinion, to HIPAA laws and all kinds of things, because it really, then you've got to start breaking the veil and piercing the veil of medical records and things like that. And I don't know that that's ever going to happen.
I think it will have a real chilling effect. If someone has been through a traumatic event, and it's not only someone like me, but look at law enforcement, look at firefighters, look at EMS, look at doctors. These people witness horrible things every day. Let's say a law enforcement officer has to pull a dying child out of a horrible vehicle accident. I'm sure that officer is going to be depressed. I'm sure that is going to have an impact on him for a while. Can you imagine you go and take that officer's gun? He's not going to be able to do his job anymore. Like, this, people go through traumatic things. And like I said, you should be allowed to have a normal human reaction, which is depression. It does not mean that you're a danger to yourself or others. Now, if there's clear, convincing evidence that you can provide to a judge that, hey, this person is going to take their life, like, this is pretty clear, that's different. But you have an actual trial, and you have due process for that person. They need to actually be in the courtroom with their accuser.
I agree, and that Florida high school shooter, something should have been done about that kid. He was in front of law enforcement 39 different times, from federal to state all the way down to local, and he had so many touches. So there's I don't know how we crack this code. It's really crazy. It's I don't know, but this is what we all need to be talking about, and I think that's the problem with the gun debate in America. It's like you're either you're against them or you're 100% for them, and we really need to get into this dirty little middle area. So,
well, here's another thing that nobody seems to think about. Okay, so let's say you think someone is a danger to themselves, and you can prove it in court. Okay, so you go and take their guns. They still have access to their vehicle. They still have access to knives. They still can harm people. If you truly believe that someone is a danger to themselves and others, then why are they in society? There are so many more ways that you can harm people, and lots of people, without guns.
No, you're exactly right. Nikki, you are an incredible person. My heart just goes out to you and everything that you've had to go through, but I give you just high marks for being out there on the forefront, kind of the tip of the spear of the Second Amendment and the rights to, really be able to carry guns wherever you want, because it is our God-given right through the Second Amendment. And Nikki Gozer, she's our guest tonight. Thank you so much for being on the show. Oh, I've got our producer Garrett wants to put in on something.
Yeah,
here.
Nikki, you don't know me. My name's Garrett Browning, and I get to produce all these gun shows for the last couple of years. And Nick talks about this as an important conversation. I was one of those people that wasn't even close to being on the fence of the gun debate. I was kind of more of guns are evil, and every week I learn more and more about guns, and it's putting me more towards the middle, and especially stories like yours, Nikki. And I know it's probably incredibly tough for you to go out and tell that story all the time to the public, but it's immensely important, and I'm really glad that you come on the airwaves and share it with us.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yeah, well, you're an inspiration, young lady, and I think that you're going to be visiting the Rockcastle Shooting Center up here in a couple weeks, maybe a month or so away, and come up here and you'll have a good time, and you know that we'll always roll out the red carpet for you, okay?
I'm super excited.
All right, God bless you. Keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing is very, very important for American citizens, American society, for the Second Amendment and everything else. Nikki Gozer's our guest, and thank you so much, girl.
Thank you.
All right. Care. Listen, you're listening to Rockcastle Gun Show. This is some meaty, heavy stuff, Garrett. I mean, this is good. I like it.
It is. It's so important. And sometimes when you get into these debates online, you see all these debates on Facebook and Twitter, you get these hypothetical situations people love to bring up, and then you hear real-world stories that they change your complex.
Exactly.
They're impossible to ignore, and it's I know it's so hard for her to tell that story all the time to different people, but it changes your viewpoint.
It does, and it's the conversations that we all need to be having as smart adults in the United States of America. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, we need to have those discussions. You're listening to Rockcastle Gun Show on ESPN Radio, and we'll be right back after these messages.
What keeps you coming back to Fire Pit Spirits?
Oh, the staff was amazing. The selection is great. The store itself is laid out very nicely. It's nice and open. The guys talk to me like they've known me forever. Oh, and they can make you a custom tap handle. Great job. They'll be seeing more of me.
You won't find better service in town. The guys will help you find the beer you're looking for, and if they don't stock it, they'll find it for you. Best service ever.
Visit Fire Pit Spirits. You'll keep coming back to the area's premier full-service wine and liquor store. Fire Pit Spirits, 1100 Happy Valley Road, Glasgow.
J&K Used Cars is the place to go when you need a quality automobile at an affordable price. Stop in at 670 on the Bypass in Bowling Green and see this week's special. A 2010 Toyota Highlander. Limited four-wheel drive SUV comes with third-row seating, sunroof, pearl exterior, leather interior, sport wheels, and more, only $16,995. Hurry in because at that price it won't last long. J&K Used Cars, with over 40 years of serving the community with affordable prices on quality automobiles. Visit J&K on the bypass and online at jnkusedcars.com.
This is Nate from Rockcastle Shooting Center. Did you know that one of the premier shooting ranges in the world is right here in South Central Kentucky? Rockcastle Shooting Center has something for everyone's recreational shooting enjoyment. From 3D archery to our brand new sporting clays course, handgun ranges full of steel to targets out to a mile. There's no better place to get some trigger time than Rockcastle Shooting Center. Non-members are welcome, and memberships start at $150 per year. We offer a fantastic range of firearms training and education opportunities from the most basic to the most advanced. Come see us, exit 48 on I-65, Park City, Kentucky. Visit rockcastleshootingcenter.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Rockcastle Gun Show. I like that lead-in music right there. Hey, what an incredible guest Nikki Gozer was to talk about her incredible story, and as it relates to the Second Amendment, to gun-free zones, the red flag laws that are being proposed right now, and there's nothing better than talking to somebody that's got that just not experience, I mean tragedy in her life, and it really, that's what we need to get, no matter what side of the aisle you are and you're a listener here on ESPN Radio, we need to have those kind of conversations. That was really good. So thank you, Nikki, so much. So it's Girl Power Night tonight, and we're going to continue this show on the Rockcastle Gun Show, and like I said, Nate's off chasing elk in eastern Kentucky and hunting down some big wapiti, some big bull elk out there, and he can't be in here tonight, so it's Nick Noble, your host solo, with our producer Garrett Browning here in ESPN Radios. Now we're going to transition a little bit. We're still going to talk about the Second Amendment and everything else, but we've got a special guest, Juliana Crowder. She's the founder of A Girl and a Gun, and it is a national organization that's all over the country, and probably all over the world, and we'll let her tell us a little bit about that. But is an organization that Juliana started down in Texas, and it's spread throughout the United States, and they put on some of the biggest events, and it's all solely for women out there, and it's really trying to get women involved, not just in competitive shooting, but in guns in general, and shooting sports and things like that. And we are lucky enough to host A Girl and a Gun, the Fall Multi-Gun Festival here at Rockcastle Shooting Center in a couple of weeks, and I think Juliana and her husband John are going to be rolling in here pretty soon. Juliana, are you with us?
I am, and you know who else is with us? Robin, my
Sandoval.
Partner.
Yay!
Yes, she was able to join us tonight.
Oh, good. Well, she's one of my favorite people as well, and you guys have done such a good job with A Girl and a Gun. Tell us about the organization, what you're doing, what's your mission, and everything that you're trying to accomplish.
Well, Girl and a Gun is in our 9th year. And it just started as a grassroots effort to get more women involved in firearms training and recreational shooting sports. And Robin was actually one of my participants, I think, in our 3rd night that we did this, a couple of weeks into me having these Girls Night Out events. And within a year, I asked her to join me in leadership of this organization. And so for the past 8 years, her and I have been walking this path together, just bringing women in to the gun culture, getting them educated as consumers, getting them educated as gun owners, fighting for our Second Amendment rights for self-defense as recreational shooting.
Well, and Robin, I know about your background, and guns were not part of your background. What brought you in to join the fight, for lack of better terms, and join A Girl and a Gun and become such an instrumental partner in the whole organization?
Well, like so many people, I was a new gun owner at the time, and I was unsure of the opportunities that the gun community provided. And I think that's true of a lot of people who are not raised with guns. They don't even know what's available to them. They don't know what's out there. And becoming a gun owner can be kind of overwhelming if you're coming in from a place of fear, which is where I was coming. I was afraid that there could be, I wanted to get a firearm for home defense. I realized that, families are vulnerable, and there was a natural disaster that I witnessed, and I just wanted to have something at home for home defense. And with that came so many wonderful resources, and I met Juliana, and she made shooting fun. She took the scary part of it out of there and made me really feel empowered that I could really operate this tool. And not only could I use it to protect my family, I could use it for concealed carry, but I could use it for sport. I could use it for fun. I can use it for time with my kids and time with my husband and time with my friends. And I think that was really the greatest gift, and the gift that A Girl and a Gun keeps giving, is to allow people to not be afraid of the tool or to not believe the rhetoric that's in the mainstream media, but to come into this community of really great, supportive people and to find a really great community with this pastime that we love.
Absolutely.
I have to brag on her for a second, because this coming December, she's going to enter the new phase of being a huntress.
Nice.
We are going on our first ever pheasant hunt together.
Oh, cool.
And so now she has this experience, the self-defense. She has the experiences as a competitive shooter. And I'm so excited and honored to get to share this next pass with her. So just had to throw that out there.
How cool is that?
I was really concerned when I found out there was no Wi-Fi out when you pheasant hunt.
I know, that's important. Well, listen, when you're here, when we get a little downtime, we'll take you out to Cave Mountain Clays, the Rockcastle Shooting Center. David Power's awesome, and we'll practice up on those on some wing shooting there, so you guys can dial it in on those pheasant. Okay.
That would be great.
I'd love to do that. So y'all are doing an amazing. Juliana, I mean, you've seen this thing come from an idea to a concept to now a national organization, and you literally are spread out the United States, right?
We are. We are in almost every state except, I think, Hawaii. And, Robin, where's the other state that we're not? We're almost everywhere.
North Dakota. I think we
North
haven't
Dakota.
tapped into North Dakota yet.
Of all places.
Yeah.
But we have events almost every night of the week, or every day of the week somewhere across the country where we're servicing different ranges and different communities.
Well, that's really cool, and you guys are doing some great things and changing. Literally, there's nothing better that I like, being the proprietor of Rockcastle Shooting Center, to introduce new people, whether they be women, children, men, it doesn't matter, introducing them to just firearms and safety and everything else, and it, almost to the person. It's just, they're blown away how safe it is, how fun it is, and how empowering it is. And you all are doing the great thing. Now, if you don't mind, we're going to go to just a very short break right now, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this incredible fall festival that's getting ready to happen at Rockcastle Shooting Center. Can you guys stick with me for just about another minute?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back after these messages. Listen to the Rockcastle Gun Show on ESPN Radio 102.7.
Although hunting to most of us is much more than just harvesting animals, why not better your deer herd's health with Big & J Long Range Attractant? Big & J is highly digestible, high in protein, and isn't full of preservatives. With Big & J Long Range Attractants, you're not only exploiting one of the few weaknesses whitetails have, their stomachs, but you're maximizing antler growth, improving overall herd health, and pulling deer from your neighbor's property. So whether your goals are to fill the freezer, kill mature bucks, or both, Big & J Long Range Attractants will stack the odds in your favor, all the while making your deer herd bigger and healthier.
J&K Used Cars is the place to go when you need a quality automobile at an affordable price. Stop in at 670 on the Bypass in Bowling Green and see this week's special. A 2010 Toyota Highlander. Limited four-wheel drive SUV comes with third-row seating, sunroof, pearl exterior, leather interior, sport and wheels, and more, only $16,995. Hurry in, because at that price, it won't last long. J&K Used Cars, with over 40 years of serving the community with affordable prices on quality automobiles. Visit J&K on the Bypass and online at jnkusedcars.com.
Welcome back to the Rockcastle Gun Show. We're getting our girl power on tonight. Hey, A Girl and a Gun, the Fall Fest. Join us October 3rd through the 6th. Join us at the Rockcastle Shooting Center for an absolutely incredible competition like no other. This is your chance to gather with exceptional women. This is not just about winning prizes, although that is a bonus. And there's everything about strengthening our sisterhood and getting in motivated as athletes and building strong female presence in the world of competitive shooting. Juliana Crowder, Robin Sandoval are our guests right now, and they are A Girl and a Gun, a national organization that's coming to Rockcastle Shooting Center up here on the 3rd through the 6th of October. And, hey, girls, we've got an incredible weekend. You all are meticulous in your planning, very detailed, and there is so much going on. I've got the agenda sitting in front of me right now. This isn't just a 3-gun competition. This is a whole bunch of other stuff. Tell us a little bit about it.
We got a lot of stuff going on. So we have 3-Gun University, sponsored by Troy, that will come out Tuesday, Wednesday, and half day Thursday, where about 20 participants will get some very detailed time with 3 professional shooters on rifle, pistol, and shotgun, mental game of the match, how to best use your equipment, how to best get into, prone, how to best use your sling, making sure your rifle and shotgun zeroed. So these ladies tend to be newer competitors who just really want to be tuned up before this event. And that's really exciting for us to get to spend that educational time. And then we roll into the match weekend, where we have a 2-day multi-gun challenge with 8 stages, and then a 1-day multi-sport challenge with 8 different shooting disciplines. That we have sponsor guns for every stage.
Well, and that's really cool, Robin. I mean, I think it's fun to do 3-gun. The multi-sport, that's going to be the competition. Last year we had a USPSA pistol match on Sunday. You guys have kind of transitioned into some multi-sport. There's some really cool things, like you said. Juliana said there's going to be stage guns and ammo and everything there, and we're going to get to introduce some of these ladies. You all are going to get to introduce some of these ladies into some different disciplines. I mean, everything from cowboy action to long-range shooting and all kinds of fun stuff.
Right. Robin, talk about the survey you did about our membership and all the different things that they're doing compared to what they used to do 8 years ago.
Yeah, we've always kind of tried to keep our finger on the pulse of what our ladies are interested in learning. And years ago, people were really focused on IDPA and 3-gun. That was kind of the trend of the time. And lately, there's been such a demand in the sporting clays and the wing shooting and other kinds of activities. Cowboy action has kind of always been around just because it's a really great family sport. But a lot of times it's hard for ladies to break into it or to find a local club. So we thought by having a stage that has every different sport, it gives them the opportunity to try out that sport, learn those rules, meet the people who shoot those sports so that you could go to a GSSF match in your area and understand the GSSF rules and how it might be different from an IDPA match that you've been to. So we really wanted to give everyone that diversity, and we wanted to put our sponsors' guns into their hands so that they actually get a chance to shoot those guns and to really see what they're about.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to go out and buy a single-action pistol and lever-action rifle and an old-time shotgun? Here they get the chance to experience that. Maybe even have to put on some chaps and a cowboy hat or something like that. I mean, that'd be fun.
We've challenged everyone to come up with their SAS name so that we can refer to them properly on the stage.
Oh, you have to have an alias. Mine is Kentucky Heller, and I don't even know what that means. The Cowboys gave me that name. And my brother's is Grinnin' Barrett, and my mother's maiden name is Barrett. So, yeah, it's always fun. So, but you guys, you really do, you embrace all these ladies. And what I think one of the coolest things, this is actually one of my favorite events that we do of all time, just because the atmosphere and the excitement and and a lot of matches that we run, you got a bunch of gamers and top shooters in the world coming in. Not that we won't have some of the best female shooters in the world here for a Girl in the Gun Fall Fest, but here it's more of a laid back. I don't want to say party, but it's kind of a party. It's a festival. Maybe that's why you called it a festival, right?
It's so interesting you say that because we do have that vibe where the ladies are just coming together because they want to shoot together, they want to learn from each other. But do not doubt for a minute that we have a handful of ladies that are gunning for each other for that first
No, absolutely. No, you're right.
That's fun for us to watch them duke it out.
Yeah, it is. So we've got about 2 minutes left. Tell us, and there may be some spots open for this. Tell us about how they can find out more about your organization, websites and social media, and if they're interested, maybe if they don't want to compete, just come up here, ladies and guys. If you have ladies that you know that would be interested in something like this, come check it out. It's free of charge. Check in at the hotel. You can come watch it out. But how do they find out more about A Girl in the Gun?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to agirlinthegun.org and specifically /Fall Fest for information on this particular event. We do have a few slots left in both matches, and the Sunday match is most ideal for a newer shooter or somebody who is new to competition or maybe only a pistol shooter because, again, all of the stage guns are provided. You literally just have to show up with your eyes and ears and a good attitude, purchase the ammo package for, $50, do your match fee. So Sunday's event would be awesome, to have a few more ladies join us. But to show up, reach out to us on social media. We're on Facebook at A Girl in the Gun Club. And, Robin, what else we got?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the first step to joining us is just to show up. So a lot of times that can be the biggest barrier. So come on out and meet us, and Juliana and I will be around, and we'd love to meet new people if you want to sign up for the match, or maybe you can join us at an upcoming event. We have events happening throughout the year, so
Absolutely.
definitely get you connected.
Absolutely, girls. This is the great way to dip your toe into shooting on Sunday in particular. For $50, you get to shoot all these guns, all this free ammo, everything else. You get to learn everything about so many different disciplines. Juliana, Robin, thank you so much. We'll see you very soon at the Rockcastle Gun Show, okay?
Thank you.
All right, you're listening to the Rockcastle Gun Show. It's Girl Power tonight, and we'll be back next week every Wednesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. Don't forget about our podcast wherever you get your podcast. You're listening to Rockcastle Gun Show on ESPN Radio.